My marriage was stolen by my mortal enemy. But he didn't steal the bride, he stole me. I struggled desperately, but he pinched my soft flesh and blurted out ambiguous words. He leaned over and bit my gland, his tone angry. Who taught you to run after sleeping? 1. When I woke up, I found Franklin lying naked in the same bed with me. In order not to wake him up, I picked up my clothes, covered the mottled kiss marks, and ran away on the spot. She went abroad for a week on the pretext of avoiding a blind date, and then to completely dispel Franklin's doubts. I agreed to get engaged to Nora, who is also an Omega. Franklin always thought I was an Alpha, and when he heard that I was getting engaged, he thought I was compromising and didn't think much about it. I breathed a sigh of relief, but I missed the fleeting inquiry in Franklin's eyes. The engagement ceremony was next week, and my parents happily asked the counselor for 2 days off so that I could choose a dress. So, why are you here? Walking into the brand store, Franklin folded his hands and leaned against the door frame of the dressing room. Don't be so disgusted. Although we have never gotten along well, we are childhood sweethearts after all. Is it okay for me to give you a thumbs up? What do you think? I stared coldly at him as he took the opportunity to touch my waist. We've already slept, so we don't need to worry about these things, right? Franklin laughed. Whoever slept with you, get out of here. I caught the words keenly and interrupted them in time. Franklin was kicked hard and grabbed the curtain with a hurt look on his face. What a cruel heart. He pulled up his pants and didn't recognize me. Roll. I always feel like Franklin seems to have guessed something, but I have no evidence. But what he did was not normal. For example, would a normal person help their mortal enemy to sort out his clothes? Would a normal person help their mortal enemy to take measurements for clothes? Would a normal person help their mortal enemy to prepare a speech for an engagement? That definitely won't happen. They are sworn enemies. How could they do such a thing? As a father, I am very pleased that my son is finally getting married. I was worrying too much. After 2 days of hard work, everything needed for the engagement was prepared. To celebrate my engagement, my friend held a single farewell ceremony. To be honest, I don't want to go. My sensitive period is approaching and pheromones are harder to suppress than usual. I'm afraid what happened last time will happen again. But he couldn't get away from everyone, especially Franklin, who said in a whisper, "Are you feeling guilty?" I was startled and turned my head immediately, only to be met with his puzzled expression. Regardless of whether I was hallucinating or not, I had to go to this meeting. Fortunately, we all had a good alcohol tolerance, and soon everyone was drunk and making fools of themselves. I was just about to suggest that we go home when someone suddenly suggested playing a game. Everyone immediately became excited and asked for a deck of cards to play the most classic game of truth or dare. I guess what you fear will come true. I was the first one to be picked. In order to avoid being chosen to play Franklin or dare, I chose truth or dare. What's the craziest thing you've done in a month? It must be sleeping with Franklin. Who would have thought that after fighting for more than 20 years, we would one day wake up in the same bed? But this certainly cannot be said. It was probably a flash marriage. Before I met Nora, I had never thought about getting married. The moment I finished speaking, I felt Franklin's gaze on me. It was as if he was seeing through me from head to toe. I raised my glass to hide my guilty conscience. Soon Franklin was chosen, and he also chose truth. Tell me quickly, is there someone you like, male or female? Is that 2 questions? Franklin unconsciously played with my hair, which made me very uncomfortable. From a while ago, there was a faint pheromone in the air very similar to his. Omegas in their sensitive period will become very sensitive. Even though Franklin did not mark me temporarily that time, my body still remembered his smell without my permission. I longed for more of his touch, too. Don't try to fool me, just tell me. Everyone gathered around me immediately, and the sudden movement made me sober up instantly. After saying this, I hurried to the bathroom and restored my face, which had turned red and hot due to the sensitive period, to normal. That was a close call. We almost kissed. When I returned to the private room, I was still feeling scared. Uncomfortable. Franklin noticed my abnormality, and I immediately avoided his outstretched hand. I realized that I had overreacted and said awkwardly, "I'm just a little drunk. It's okay." "Then I'll take you back?" "No, I'll take a taxi back. I'm not drunk. Also, don't try to be brave if you can't even walk steadily." Franklin had no choice but to pick me up when I was about to fall. Familiar, thirsty pheromones flooded into his nostrils, stirring the fire in his body. "Just lean on me if you want. I won't mind your dad," Franklin said with a smile. Although I wanted to beat him up, the large area contact did make me feel better. I continued to absorb his pheromones with a clear conscience and greed. "Miles, you were the one who bit me that day, right?" Suddenly, I fell into the soft big bed. Franklin touched his neck where I had bitten his teeth, feeling both amused and helpless. "Why should I bite you?" The abundant pheromones made my head feel dizzy and heavy. I didn't want to talk to him anymore, so I threw off the quilt and went to sleep. In a daze, Franklin spoke incoherently. I couldn't hear clearly or understand anything, so I slept until dawn. I woke up and found myself sleeping in the same bed with Franklin again. Without thinking too much, I got out of bed immediately, but suddenly I heard a voice behind me. Franklin propped up his head and looked at me while lying on his side. Wow, someone is going to pull up their pants and ignore me again. This annoying tone always feels like it's intentional. I didn't dare look back at him and put on my clothes. "You can't even go to the toilet?" "Okay, of course, just don't run away." "Why would I?" Franklin, you cheated me again." I was so angry that I picked up a pillow and threw it at him. Franklin laughed and said, "Don't be angry so early in the morning. Your health is more important." In front of the mirror, I confirmed again and again that there were no marks on my body and no abnormalities in my pheromones. I went downstairs only after I was sure that nothing had been exposed and that no sexual intercourse had taken place. Franklin had already washed up and was leisurely eating breakfast. Everything seemed so normal, except for the half-open collar of his pajama top and his exposed muscular chest that still had kiss marks on it. I said, "What? Could you pull up your collar?" I was so ashamed that I didn't want to talk for another second. Franklin thought for a while, then reached for his collar with a smile. I thought he was going to tie it up, but he just opened it all up. "You're a pervert. It's just taking off clothes. What's so perverted about that? Are you shy? How is that possible? Then why don't you dare look at me?" Franklin came closer, and the fresh pheromones sneaked into his nose, and my face became hot uncontrollably. How could I not feel ashamed after doing something like that? I unexpectedly had a dream last night, and I dreamed about that night. Exciting and crazy. Now, whenever I see his face, my mind automatically recalls how he looked that night. "Baby, relax. Miles, you're the pervert," Franklin yelled. I looked up, not knowing what was going on, and saw hot blood from my nose dripping all over my pants. I felt so depressed that I wanted to die, but Franklin grabbed me and whispered in my ear like a devil from hell, "These are my pants. Fuck you. How could I know someone like you?" 3. The moment the pants were clean, I threw them directly to Franklin, who had moved a stool to watch. "I quit." After saying that, he slammed the door and left. I ignored him until the day of our engagement. "Why didn't your son invite your father to his wedding?" The door of the lounge was pushed open, and Franklin, dressed elegantly, came in with a bouquet of roses. I ignored him, and he shamelessly stuffed the bouquet into my arms. "Don't be angry. I came here today to apologize." "You're apologizing and sending roses?" "I bought it because it suits you so well. Look at your fair and tender skin. The red roses make you even prettier." As he spoke, Franklin touched my face. The sensitive period has not passed yet, and my slightly hot body temperature likes slightly cool things very much. "Miles, it's you after all." "What?" I came to my senses and found that my body was reacting uncontrollably again. Franklin's eyes were deep, as if he already knew that the person that night was me. "Nothing, your pheromones are strong." "I've taken medicine. Can I still smell it?" I played dumb and told Franklin that in order to hide my identity as an omega, I felt that strawberry-flavored pheromones did not match my image. so I had been suppressing it with medication. Of course I can smell it if it's this strong. Franklin's eyes fell on my glands. Especially here. Really? Then I'll take some more medicine. I immediately covered the gland. When alpha and omega have sex, they release pheromones to each other, thus enhancing their compatibility. As long as my pheromones are strong enough, Franklin's body will be awakened. So pheromones must never be released again. Eating too much is bad for your health. Franklin stopped my action and released pheromones secretly. The body is ready to move, but once it reacts, the truth will be revealed. Franklin stared at him like a hunting beast, and his eyes gradually dimmed. My breathing became faster as the pheromones became stronger. He suddenly came close to me, and his breath swept over my glands, causing a shiver. Miles, that night. Miles, it's time. Two voices sounded at the same time, and my parents pushed the door open. I secretly sighed, pretending to be nothing and patting Franklin's shoulder. Dad will treat you to dinner today. Then he forced himself to go out with his weak body. During the whole process, I didn't see Franklin, and I felt uneasy for no reason. When the oath was about to be read, all the lights in the hall suddenly went out. I heard footsteps coming towards me in the darkness, and the next moment, I was lifted up by the waist. The pheromones allowed me to recognize it was Franklin. What are you doing? Put me down. I slapped him hard, but he pinched my waist instead. My old bed partner is about to become someone else's husband. Why don't you just snatch the marriage and wait for him to sleep with someone else? Franklin said it with confidence. We were just covering each other with the same quilt, but I was forced to do it. How could we be considered bedmates? Besides, my engagement with Nora is a temporary solution for both parties, and we will not sleep together. He is so nervous. Franklin, you don't like me, do you? It seems that I am still too soft-hearted. Question mark. In an instant, the strong pheromones took away all my strength, leaving me leaning limply on him like a wilted daylily. Franklin put me on the passenger seat and pressed down on me. We were only a few centimeters apart, and our hot breath sprayed on each other's faces. The pheromones made people dizzy, and a bold and crazy idea emerged in their minds. Franklin! I reached out for a kiss. Franklin chuckled and slowly moved closer. The next moment, there was a stinging pain in the gland. The sound was almost squeezed out from the teeth. Who taught you to run after sleeping? It was like a bolt of thunder out of nowhere, and my mind went blank. What are you talking about? I don't understand. I pretended to be deaf and dumb. Franklin smiled meaningfully and pulled the seat belt down. It's okay if you don't understand. I'll make you remember it completely later. The last 3 words emphasized the tone. It felt like a 1,000-pound weight, pressing down on me and making it hard for me to breathe. Franklin, this is a society ruled by law. No matter how much you hate me, you shouldn't do this. The car drove through streets I didn't know where to go, and my heart almost jumped out of my throat. What are you afraid of? I won't eat you. Then why do you have such a perverted and sinister smile? I was afraid that Franklin would take me to the wilderness and kill me, so I dared not close my eyes the whole time. 2 hours later, I finally arrived at my destination. Get off. I'm not going down. I held on to my seat belt tightly and refused to obey. Franklin raised his eyebrows, lifted me up with one hand, strode towards the bedroom, and locked the door with his backhand. The big bed left marks of 2 people. I was too nervous to move. Franklin laughed and hugged me from behind. He buried his chin in my neck and jokingly said, "It's just a nap. Why are you so nervous? Or do you want to have a good sleep? Who would think of such a thing? Let me go." I was panicking, but Franklin was calm and collected. "Then why are you so nervous? Look at your blushing face. If I didn't know you, I'd think you had a crush on me." I was influenced by pheromones. Only a fool would have a crush on you. So you're an omega? Franklin leaned his head on his hand and spoke in a nonchalant tone. My heart skipped a beat. Alphas will only feel disgusted when they smell pheromones of their own kind. Only omegas will show reactions such as blushing and accelerated heartbeat. What should I do? The truth will be revealed soon. Don't dare to answer? Didn't you swear that you were an alpha at that time? Why don't you dare look at me now? Franklin pressed on step by step, and every sound created a huge wave in his heart. The rapid breathing caused by tension causes you to inhale more pheromones that are deliberately released. Asshole, you're using pheromones to trick me again. He shook off Franklin's touch and prepared to run away. In the blink of an eye, nausea rose up into my throat. If it was a second later, I would vomit on the spot. I vomited all over the toilet, and in the end, only stomach acid was left. Open the window and stay away from me. When Franklin carried him out, he was missing 7 spirits and almost died young. It turns out that you can't take too many suppressant drugs or consume too much alpha pheromones during the sensitive period. But fortunately, Franklin's doubts were dispelled. Fortunately, I'm still breathing, with a hot towel covering his forehead. His cold and weak body slowly recovered. Open your mouth. No. I get annoyed when I see this face. He bullies me severely every time, and then apologizes sincerely. I thought he would change, but he doesn't. You really don't want to eat? I won't eat it. Okay then, don't blame me later. Before the person could react, his mouth was blocked. Are you sick? Covered my mouth in shock. Then I have no choice. If you were dead, who would argue with me or sleep with me? Franklin didn't think it was outrageous at all and even planned to continue. I quickly dodged and said, "What's wrong with your train of thought? How can you die if you don't eat a meal? Also, there's no way I'm sleeping with you again. Then what are our previous ones?" What? Franklin suddenly came forward with a resentful look in his eyes. You haven't forgotten the fact that we slept together, have you? Who forgot? Who slept with you? Don't talk nonsense. I pushed him away violently, but I couldn't bring myself to look him in the eye because I felt guilty. I always feel like Franklin already knew it was me that night. Otherwise, why would you ask that question in the car? Yeah. Then when I find the evidence, don't kneel down and beg me, Franklin said and left. The room suddenly became quiet, and the only sound I could hear was my heartbeat quickening as I reacted to the shock of fear. Franklin knows. When did he start to doubt? The waiting room? The bachelorette party? The dress selection? It's so terrifying when I think about it. I don't even dare to think about it further. He packed up his things in a hurry and ran away immediately. It's you, Miles. As I walked down the stairs, I heard a noise above my head. Franklin leaned against the door frame with an expected smile on his face. Got fooled. He wasn't even sure it was me. Suddenly, the cell phone rang. Miles, where are you? Mommy will never force you to get married again. Can you please come back soon? Mommy knows she was wrong. Miles, Mommy is really worried about you. I shook my phone as I heard a crying voice. Do you think they will let you in if I tell them that you not only kidnapped me but also won't let me go home? Although my parents like other people's children like Franklin, they absolutely protect me based on their principles. Anyone who hurts me will pay the price in the end. There was just no evidence before, but this time just prepare to be kicked out. I'll take you back. As expected, Franklin ended up driving obediently. Humph. Luckily I was smart and prepared the voice message in advance. When I got home, what greeted me was not the casual flirting with someone who understood my eyes, but a mixed doubles of a man and a woman. You dare to come back? I will beat you to death. If Nora hadn't run away from her marriage, I would be pissed off by you. There are wolves in front and tigers behind, only Franklin is the safest. Even if the plan fails, I can only hide behind him in shame. Franklin, get out of my way. I have to make him admit his mistake today. Aunt. Miles already knows he was wrong. Bullshit. I didn't run away from my marriage. It's not my fault. It's you. Franklin is begging you for mercy, but you are still so rude. It seems that I usually indulge you too much. Bring me my feather duster. Feather duster. Childhood nightmare and adult nightmare. Bastard Franklin. Sooner or later I'm going to kill you. Aunt, you misunderstood Miles in this matter. The feather duster didn't fall on him. Franklin reached out to stop it. Are you crazy? That thing hurts so much when it hits you. The marks left behind will take several days to disappear. He was slapped without any expression on his face. Don't worry, I won't let you get hurt. This upward perspective feels quite cool. Is it my illusion? Aunt, Miles didn't run away from his marriage. He just felt uncomfortable during his sensitive period. So he asked me to take him to the hospital. The doctor told him a lot, so he came back so late. Upon hearing this, my parents' faces suddenly changed. I thought to myself that something was wrong, but it was too late to stop them. Franklin dropped his eyes, a look of sadness and worry on his face. The doctor said that Miles might not be an alpha. My parents exchanged glances, and their worried expressions became relaxed. It doesn't matter. Whether Miles is an alpha or an omega, we won't stop you. Question mark. Aunt, do you agree? Franklin was overjoyed. Question mark. Of course, we've always wanted you to be our daughter-in-law, but unfortunately Miles is an alpha. But since you're not, you should pick a good day to get married. My parents clapped their hands with relief. Question mark. Hey. Have you ever considered the feelings of the person involved? How dare you say that? If Nora hadn't also run away from her marriage, I would have beaten you to death today. I told you I didn't run away from my marriage. After dodging for a long time, he still couldn't avoid the mixed doubles, and even made Franklin gain some favor. Asshole, using me as a stepping stone. Don't be angry. It's not good for your health. Franklin applied the medicine with a smile on his face, and it was obvious that he had no good intentions when visiting a chicken. I dodged and said, "Don't pretend. Even if they force me, I won't marry you. We've slept together before, so getting married isn't too much of a stretch, right? Who slept with you? Are you sure?" "No." The words stopped abruptly at his lips, and the subtle whisper appeared again, and the atmosphere became awkward. Franklin smiled ambiguously. "Then why do you react to my touch? Besides, there are kiss marks on his body. Wherever the fingers touched, there was a shiver. Not good. The body is about to react again." I quickly dodged. "What does that prove? I don't believe you've been touched by anyone." "No," Franklin said firmly, slowly moved closer, and smiled lovingly into his ears. "Except you." 5. In a flash, broken images emerged. The nasal cavity felt hot and the smell of blood spread. "This is the second time, Miles. You still won't admit it?" Franklin slowly took out some paper and stopped the bleeding for me. Seeing him always look so confident of winning, I get inexplicably angry. "What are you asking me to admit? I don't know what you are talking about. Even if you didn't lie to me, there's no way I could sleep with you." "Why not? Who would have sex with someone they hate if they weren't drunk? No matter how you look at it, I'm the one who's at a disadvantage, so I don't care, so why should he care?" "Because I hate you. From childhood to adulthood, as long as he is around, I will never be able to escape his light. Even if I was first, I would eventually be asked to learn more from Franklin. But why can't Franklin learn from me? I am also very good." "Do you hate me that much?" "Yes, I hate it so much." Franklin paused for a moment and nodded slightly. "Good. I'll make it clear to my uncle and aunt." "What?" "Nothing. I wish you a happy blind date." "Wish me a happy blind date? How can it be happy? All those who came here are filthy bastards and top perverts." Ever since Franklin made it clear that he would not marry me, my parents have been urging me to go on blind dates. The people I was arranged to meet were all disgusting and greasy men. It was all Franklin's fault. He insisted that I was not an alpha. Now I have to go on blind dates with men. "Miles, I see you seem to like movies very much. I have booked a private theater. Let's go together." As he spoke, the greasy man stretched out his hand. I almost couldn't hold back my fist and threw it away with gritted teeth. "Excuse me, my boyfriend is here to pick me up. It's okay, we can play together." Is this human language? "Don't be shy. I'll call a few more people." The man's hands fell on his waist, and a chill ran down his forehead. "Lift your foot and put it down in one go." The man smiled instead of getting angry, which was creepy. In an instant, the unpleasant smell of alpha pheromones filled the air. Even if you hold your breath, you can't avoid being affected. My stomach was churning and my head was foggy. Why are you pretending when you're already out on a blind date? If it weren't for us alphas, you omegas would be standing on the street somewhere. Get away! Don't touch me. Every part of her body that was touched by a man was disgusting, but the alpha had absolute control over the omega, and she could only allow herself to be taken away by the other. Telephone. Answer the phone, Franklin. You want someone to rescue you? It's too late. The moment the call was made, the phone was thrown into the trash can. He was unconscious and couldn't even make a sound. If Franklin didn't answer the phone, but he had no reason to answer it. If someone who hates me calls me, I won't answer. Idiot. I am an idiot. At a time like this, he actually expected his mortal enemy to come and rescue him. You should have been obedient. You could have felt better, but you forced me to release pheromones. Now no one can save you. The man pushed hard and fell into the car. As I watched the car door close, I felt extremely sad. Miles! Accompanied by a hurried shout, the car door was opened. The street lights shone into the dark car cabin. Franklin panted and pulled me tightly into his arms. The beating of a drum-like heartbeat was transmitted through the skin, like a stone dropped into a pond, creating ripples. I looked at him, and under the streetlight, I could see obvious nervousness and fear on his face. Fortunately, we made it in time. He seemed relieved and looked me up and down to see if I was injured. I shook my head, but my body was still under pressure and I couldn't help feeling nauseous. I'll release some pheromones. The fresh apple flavor dissipated the foul smell and the nausea symptoms were alleviated. Don't worry, I've called the police, Franklin said, pulling away as soon as I recovered. Even if we were in the same car, he wouldn't talk to me. Sure enough, some very harsh words were said that day. 6. It was almost 10 o'clock when I finished taking the statement. Franklin took me home and didn't come in to sit. In the past, I would stay and not leave. Don't you hate me? I hesitated to speak. I'm just saying I hate you. There's no need to keep in touch, right? And it wasn't like this when we had a quarrel before. Before was before, now is now. I don't want to be hated by you for the rest of my life. What? You make it sound like it's my fault. Then don't do those annoying things. I've told you before, I don't want to live in someone else's shadow. But as long as you are here, I will always be ignored. You know I hate this, but you always come to me. I can't drive you away, and you still think we have a good relationship. It was like finding an outlet to vent, and the emotions that had been pent up for years were finally expressed. But it didn't feel relaxing. Feel sorry, Franklin said sincerely. I won't do that again. I clearly wanted him not to misinterpret it, so why do things seem to be getting worse and worse? Forget it, our relationship wasn't that great anyway, so let's just leave it at that. After my parents knew what happened, they no longer forced me to go on blind dates. Franklin no longer contacted me. There were no messages on his phone and he was nowhere to be seen at school. It was as if he had disappeared from the face of the earth. Miles, I'm sorry. Mom shouldn't have forced you to go on a blind date, nor should she have arranged your marriage with Franklin without your consent. At the dinner table, my mother suddenly spoke. It's nothing. He's so outstanding. It's not wrong for you to like him. As much as I hate to admit it, Franklin is better than me. Whether it is his way of dealing with people or his style of doing things, being nonchalant is just an appearance. When faced with difficulties and accidents, he can always remain calm and solve everything perfectly. Miles. Mom actually has something else to say. Mom and Dad looked at each other, hesitant. Yes, I'm listening. I don't know what happened between you, but Miles, sometimes you can't just look at the surface. You have to look into your heart. Sometimes things are not what you think they are, or quite the opposite. It's just that these things are easily blinded by external things, which makes you lose the ability to judge. Have I lost my ability to judge? From childhood to adulthood, everyone said that Franklin was the smartest, Franklin was the most powerful, and nothing could be accomplished without Franklin. But I played the same role. Not only did they not praise me, they also laughed at me, saying that I was trying to extort credit that I was stealing the credit, and that I was shameless. I have thought about this more than once, and it has been verified by reality more than once. As long as Franklin is around, the good aspects of what I do will be deliberately ignored, while the bad aspects, even if they are just small mistakes, will be magnified. As long as Franklin is not around, I will be treated as I deserve, praised if I do something right and criticized if I do something wrong. Now, I have just gotten rid of the shadow that has trapped me for many years. I didn't do anything wrong, but I feel so sad. Franklin ignored me. The person who could not be driven away before left quietly. 7. See you again, Franklin. It was at his birthday party. He is still a heartthrob and is held in high esteem. Miles, you guys haven't reconciled yet? My friend asked in surprise when he saw that I didn't go up to cut the cake. We didn't have an argument. I clenched the wine glass. Whenever I thought of the conversation that day, my heart ached. You call this not having a quarrel? Stop drinking. You've made yourself drunk. Last time, Franklin was sent to the hospital because of drinking. I don't want to be your errand boy again. The friend hurriedly stopped him. Franklin was hospitalized after drinking? When did it happen? It was about 2 weeks ago, maybe Friday night. He suddenly called us out for a drink, and when we asked him about it, he just kept drinking without saying anything. After he passed out, he kept calling your name and saying something like sorry. I couldn't hear it clearly, but it was probably these words. It was Friday night, the day my blind date went wrong. So he almost lost his life? I have no idea. You'd be surprised if you knew. I wanted to use his phone to call you, but he wouldn't allow it. He said he couldn't bother you anymore. Miles, to be honest, even a blind person can see that Franklin likes you, but you don't know it, right? I have no idea. Or how would I know? I have always regarded him as my archenemy, but not only did he not deny it, he also did not show any interest in me, not at all. Wow, you're really flirting with a blind man. My friend was so angry that he laughed. Do you know why we insisted on holding a bachelor party for you? It was to give you two a chance to spend time together. Did you know that we didn't contact you a week before your engagement? Because we were all helping Franklin figure out how to snatch the wedding in the most reasonable way. Do you know why I dragged you here today? Because I wanted to give you a chance to clear up the misunderstanding. He never told me any of this. No. Oh, never mind. Just figure it out on your own. My friend gave up struggling and turned around to drink. Everyone around is celebrating Franklin's birthday. It was the same in the past. Why does it seem so boring now? Franklin, what wish did you make this year? Someone asked Franklin. Franklin shook his head and didn't answer. Suddenly, their eyes met. It was as if time and space had stopped, and I recalled things from the past. Please help me make the wish. Why should I help you? Your wish is my wish. Make it come true. Franklin has never made a wish because every year on my birthday he asks me to make a wish. It was his birthday, but I didn't find it strange at all. Even if I had doubts, he would still push me into doing it with other excuses. When did this situation start? I think it was in the first grade of elementary school. He is the protagonist of everyone, and I am the protagonist of him. Miles is also very smart and capable. I wouldn't have been able to succeed without Miles' help. Miles didn't steal the credit. This is all Miles's work. I just did it at the end. Don't slander Miles. Come to think of it, it seems that I have never been able to leave him. If I really hated him, I would not allow him to stay by my side all the time. I would not forgive his bullying time and time again, and I would not enjoy the special care he gave me. I should have noticed it when Franklin said my skin was white and tender. If you don't like someone, who would praise your mortal enemy like this? But, is it too late now? Franklin, do you have someone you like? Someone asked. Franklin withdrew his gaze, lowered his head, and spoke in a neither loud nor soft voice. No. Sure enough, it was too late. As they drank cup after cup of wine, people left one by one. Franklin hesitated for a long time before stopping in front of me. Let me take you home. I don't want to go home. Then I'll let them accompany you. Franklin called his friends, but I stayed until the end for him. I pulled out my cell phone and questioned him. Don't you want to know who you had sex with? Yes, it's me. I admit it now. Does it still count? You're drunk. Franklin avoided my question and just picked me up and put me in the car. While buckling my seatbelt, I grabbed his collar and said, "Answer me." "Answer what?" "Marriage?" "Does marriage still count? You want to marry me, right? Okay, let's get married. Let's have the wedding tomorrow and let everyone know that we're married." "Franklin, answer me." I kind of understand how sad and upset Franklin felt when he was rejected. It felt like someone was gripping my heart tightly, making it hard to breathe and causing severe pain. "I'm sorry, you're drunk." Franklin still refused to answer. No matter what I said or asked, he used the excuse of being drunk. "I hate this. Let's sleep again just one more time, and then you'll continue to ask me if it's me, and use every possible means to verify that I'm the one." After he avoided me countless times, I put my arms around his neck and kissed him without giving him any chance. I tried to distract him, but it was no use. He pushed me away and said, "Don't you hate me?" "Yes." I said I hated him. Very annoying. "I regret it." "Franklin, I don't hate you. I like you. Can you like me again?" Tears blurred my vision, and pheromones intertwined in the cramped space. Franklin massaged the gland and kissed it slowly. 9. When I woke up again, Franklin was just getting dressed. His back was covered with scratches from last night. "Franklin," I began hoarsely, "last night was just an accident. We were all drunk, so forget it. You didn't drink at all last night." I hurriedly grabbed him, fearing that he would leave quietly again. "Just assume I'm drunk. After all, no one would have sex with their mortal enemy." Franklin let go of my hand, expressionless. My heart ached so much. 10. Franklin was sending me home and we happened to meet my parents. After much persuasion, he finally agreed to stay for dinner. "Franklin, I heard from your mother that you want to go abroad?" I looked up suddenly. "I've already applied, and I'll be leaving next week." Franklin didn't look at me, and his tone was flat as if he was saying that he was going to sleep today. "Why, Miles?" Mom was stunned, but Franklin still had no expression. "He doesn't care about me anymore." Franklin, who used to be so shameless that he wanted to stay with me 24 hours a day, now doesn't even want to see me. "You don't want to see me that much?" I suppressed the sourness rising in my throat and stared at him. It seems like he is unwilling and also like he is struggling to death. "You like me, don't you?" "Now I like you. Why don't you want me anymore?" "You're on my mind right now. My body and my emotions are all on you. You made me like this. You have to take responsibility." "Miles." For the first time in my life, I lost control and ran away from my parents. I don't know how long I ran, but I felt so tired. The glands are throbbing, craving the soothing effects of alpha pheromones. Franklin didn't mark me, he just treated me as a drunken mistake. But my glands remember his taste as if it were engraved in my blood. I hate sensitive periods, because it will prove again and again that I like him. "Miles." Panting sounds were heard as Franklin ran under the street lights, illuminating his anxious expression. Just like then, suddenly, I felt a sense of grievance in my heart, and tears were about to fall. I reached out and wiped it away, not wanting him to see my miserable appearance. "I'm better than him, I can't cry." "Sorry." "I don't want to hear you say sorry." He was speechless. "Like me? Say you like me, idiot." But I couldn't hold it back anymore. So many tears started falling. "Sorry." Franklin gently held me in his arms, and the fragrant pheromones calmed my body. "Also, I like you." "Say it again." "I like you, Miles. I have always liked you, from childhood to adulthood, and it has never changed." 11. I cried in Franklin's arms for a long time. It was as if I cried out all the grievances and tears that had been pent up since elementary school. Ever since I met Franklin, I have been suppressing my emotions because I think he didn't cry and I can't cry either. But it was not until today that I clearly realized that there is actually no need to suppress it. Franklin will take care of me. "I'm sorry for making you sad." Franklin kissed away my tears, his voice gentle. "Did you know from the beginning that it was me?" I choked up, feeling embarrassed and annoyed when I thought of my explanations that were full of mistakes and omissions. It was just a suspicion. It will be officially confirmed in the engagement waiting room. Then behind you. I just wanted to tease you, but ended up messing around. If I hadn't said I was getting married, you wouldn't have encountered that. He still blames himself for the incident with the obscene man. You called off the wedding because I said I hated you. It has nothing to do with you. Miles, don't comfort me anymore. I know I was too impulsive and didn't consider your feelings. Franklin said sullenly that he did have selfish motives in proposing marriage, and he wanted to catch me in this way. He also said that he would seize every opportunity to perform hard, and he believed that one day I would fall in love with him. I didn't answer, and my mind flashed back to his special care for me. Maybe I have fallen in love with him for a long time, but I just didn't realize it. I kissed him on the cheek to make amends. So you're going to study abroad? Ah. I didn't say I was going to study abroad. I was just going to participate in a competition. Baby, did you misunderstand? But it doesn't matter if it's a misunderstanding. I like it very much. Don't say that in my ear. Besides, I didn't misunderstand. I realized it later and my face turned red. I was so ashamed and angry that I wanted to find a hole to crawl into. Okay. Baby, if you say no, then no. Don't call me baby. Aren't you my baby? Franklin bit the gland and asked tentatively, Can I mark you? I tilted my head to kiss him, my breath unsteady. I don't want to be here. Go to bed. Okay. I'll listen to you, baby. 12. Franklin temporarily tagged me. This time when we woke up, we were both lying in bed. It's so wonderful. I finally caught the person I've been thinking about for a long time. Franklin smiled and came closer to me unconsciously, as if he was going to kiss me again, but my lips were sore from being kissed for so long last night. I turned my head away and the alarm clock rang. It was already 9:30. It's over, I'm going to be late. Stop laughing and take me there. I was extremely anxious, and Franklin hugged me with a smile. I've already asked for leave, honey. Let's spend the day at home. Okay? You really asked for leave? Real. I breathed a sigh of relief when Franklin showed me the chat history. I suddenly had an idea and took people out. Where are you going? Marry. Ah. Franklin was shocked and looked incredulous. Marriage, are you going? Walk. I held out my hand to him, and Franklin ran over and took it tightly. The moment they touch each other, the two hearts lean on each other. Baby, I love you. Yeah, I know. So do you like me? I like you. I like it very much.